fabulous. Sorry, I got stepped on. You must meet my friend New York Vinnie, who's in Seattle, Washington, and he will. The magic word today is mellifluence. Oh, I shouldn't have told them.
Yeah, no, you're not supposed to tell him the
All
magic
right,
word.
Finneman, come out with another word. Give it to Vinny. Don't tell me what it is.
Say the
Thank you.
secret word.
And I'm here in Pasadena, California, the home where UCLA plays its football games,
Oh,
and where
there you go.
they
Yes. Thank you, Michael. Yes, Michael's in Pasadena, Los Angeles, for those of you who don't know where what number is freeway is that goes up there? 13?
the
No,
110, the
110.
210, 110, the 210, the 135, and not far from here, the 710. Not far from that, the 605.
Right.
But
The
those are the
13
majors.
is the one up in Oakland. It goes through the back
Yep.
way in Oakland.
Yes, a beautiful freeway, actually, an old one.
Yeah, a freeway that was put in there in the 30s.
They'd never do it today.
Not that freeway, no. They would never
No.
be able to cut down the trees to make that freeway. But in those
Yeah.
days, they said, listen, we got to get all these people here over there, and we got to figure out a way to do it. And so Governor Hinckley came by with a bulldozer and a bunch of people and said, I want you to start here and stop when you see Foothill Boulevard.
And if you see somebody claiming to be the Emperor of California, pointing out the location for the bridge, take some notes. Get back to me on that.
Right. Well, I think the bridge might have been there already when they built that. I don't know what year they built that freeway. Um, as a matter of fact, now even the name of the freeway is escaping me.
The
Not the Foothill.
the Berkeley Freeway,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not the yeah, Claremont. No,
the Lucky 13.
the Lucky 13. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Although when I was an insurance adjuster many years ago, that was not the Lucky 13.
That was a good place to have an accident.
That was a really good place to have an accident because it had all of those weird exits that would come up and then make a right turn immediately.
We got those here on the 110, the old Pasadena
Yeah,
Freeway.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I bet you they were built probably right around the same time because you'd come up from the freeway, which is below grade in many places, and it's an immediate and hard right turn or left turn. So if you've had a couple of pops, as many people did in those days, you come up that thing at night and they're not well lit at
No.
all. And you just, you're hitting the gas coming off of the freeway up the exit ramp, thinking that you're going to come upon a street, and all you come upon is a guardrail and a drop to go back down onto the freeway, but there's no ramp there.
It's funny how the engineers of both Highway 13 and the 110, which used to be California 11, the Pasadena Freeway, the first freeway in America, they had no idea what exit speed was about. They had no idea how fast the cars would be going. They had no idea how, and the entrance ramps are just 20 feet long. You have to come to the entrance, pull up the ramp, stop, and wait for a break in the traffic before you can get on the freeway. And the opposite is true, where you create an accident or two just leaving the freeway. It's quite a challenge. You better know your stuff. You better know
Yeah.
your onions if you're getting off the Pasadena Freeway.
In New York, we used to have they're much more, they didn't have freeways per se. We had parkways,
Yes.
which were eerily similar to the freeways, but not the big freeways, but the old style, like the 110 and the 13. And the one that is now called Jackie Robinson Parkway used to
Wow.
be the Interborough Parkway. And the Interborough ran between Brooklyn and Queens. It ran from the courthouse in Queens, in Kew Gardens, up into East New York and Brooklyn.
They should have called it the 42 if it was the Jackie Robinson.
Well, when they built this thing, Jackie Robinson hadn't played yet. So anyway, this and again, there was no consideration for a physics, b any kind of length of exit ramp because it had the same setup. You'd come in off the street, there'd be like a strip of trees and park,
Yeah.
and then you'd make a little right turn in the direction, hopefully, the traffic was going. The ramps were designed such that you had to make a decision when you got to a certain point. Am I going to make a left or a right? Left being into oncoming traffic, right being with the flow of traffic. And they had, they even had a couple of little signs there that said wrong way. But hey, who's looking?
That's the funny thing about engineers. They build stuff that can't be used, and they have no guilt about it. They say this is going to work. We've tested it. We worked it through. Worked on the back of a napkin, and I'm convinced that this is going to be just what you ordered, except for the part where it doesn't work.
I can't tell you how many cars I picked up off of when I drove a tow truck when I was a kid. How many cars I picked up off of the Interborough Parkway, or the favorite thing on the Interborough Parkway was the way they had it built. It ran through two cemeteries, oddly enough.
Not one, yeah. Well, one wasn't big enough.
Right through Cypress Hills Cemetery on both sides. And the way they built the Interborough was that they built it up, but not like you see today with elevated freeway. They just put a grade there, and built it up. In many places, it was either at street level or maybe 10, 15 feet above the street. And in order to get it to be a parkway, they lined it with trees. Now,
10 million ficus trees. You couldn't see to save your life.
so three things happened with the trees. Number one, and plus they made it so that it twisted and turned
Oh,
like
yes.
this. I mean, it was almost like the tail of the dragon. So now you have this road that goes from Brooklyn to Queens. The road is almost undrivable at 35 miles an hour. And so they post a speed limit of 50. So that's your start. And those cars in those days did not handle like the cars of today.
No way.
Tie rod ends and stuff hanging out, and it was the beginning of it in Brooklyn had gone from being a decent, nice neighborhood to being a very poverty-stricken neighborhood, which meant that people didn't fix their cars as much. Certainly not the steering or the brakes. So now, people coming out and on this almost race course of a road,
Yeah.
and they find that at 50, the curves are basically handleable.
They're banked the wrong way on the Pasadena freeway. The wrong way. They only had two choices. We could make it this way, and that would help, but we could bank it that way and make it a real show.
Yeah. Second thing was, by the way, when you went through those curves, and if you missed it and you rolled off, they didn't want to sully up the place with guardrails.
No,
So
don't like the look of it.
if you were going fast enough, they had trees that lined the side of the road. If you were going fast enough, or you hit a patch where there was no trees, because the thing was up like this and you were going like through Forest Park, and you're doing about 70, 80 miles an hour because you got half a bag on, many of the cars that I picked up were airborne or had gone airborne.
What was that? That was a Hudson Hornet, my son.
You could be standing on the corner of Forest Park Drive and something, and all of a sudden you hear whoosh, and there's a 62 Buick about 25 feet off the ground.
That was
coming out
special.
of the Borough Parkway.
Yes, it was a Buick special. It was really special.
Very special. Time and time again, you saw that where the car just was going so fast, it took off.
Freeway design, it's kind of weird how you learn by doing it. For instance, for people who have been to Seattle, you'd like to have somebody explain to you why through the middle of town there's three lanes, and every once in a while they'll merge into two just to make it interesting, because the engineers said, what are you going to need? Like 3 lanes at the most, sometimes 2. Who's going to be using this? There's nobody here. Listen to me when I tell you 3 lanes through town is plenty.
Yeah, we see how that worked out.
And
Then,
I'm gonna put up walls so you can't expand it.
yes, there's the smartest thing. Let's make it so we can't open them up a little bit. What do you do? Well, we'll make the lanes smaller.
Make
Cars
a
are getting
pit.
smaller, so
There
we'll
you
make the
go.
lanes smaller. So the second thing they do is the same trees that are there in the summer and make this beautiful park-like setting for people to speed through and kill themselves by hitting the trees. If you don't go off the side of the thing, you hit the trees. Around about October 1st, what happens?
Fall.
And what happens in fall?
Well, there's leaves everywhere, and you can see no, but except on the trees.
And if you think ice is slippery, try driving over some leaves that have been rained on.
I bet you some runners could tell you stories about encountering wet leaves on a running trail. My feet went out for me one day like that. I was on my back before I knew it. It was like running on ice. The same. You get the same warning.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you got 3,500 pounds of Buick, skirting through, and all of a sudden some guy comes out from one of those entrances that we talked about. And you hit the brakes, and the brake pedal looks up at you and goes,
Yeah, we'll stop, but not
boom.
now. We'll be stopping, but not the way you had in mind.
Right. We're going to stop when you go over the center divider, of which there was none at that time, and go into the opposite lane and kill a couple of people. So you had that. And then the third thing was they actually installed guardrails at some point, but they didn't put the metal breakaway guardrails in or the Jersey barriers.
No, the 8x8. We're going to kill you with this piece of wood barrier.
Yeah, they took pieces of wood from some of the trees that they cut down for better visibility, and they made them 8x8, and they put them in the center of the thing. So now you got, again, this, Chevy Nova going up the Interborough at, I don't know, 90 miles an hour.
Ooh,
And
bold.
you hit you kind of hit the leaves, and the thing starts to slide, and you go into the wood um, divider, and in many cases they just split apart,
And eat
and
you
this
right up.
long 10-foot piece of sharpened splinter would, usually come up through the floorboard of your car
And into the back seat at 80 miles an hour.
and into the back seat exactly, and you would be skewered somewhere on it.
Yep.
Had a number of those where they actually had to come and bring emergency services down to extricate the wood from the
I thought
body.
they'd cut it on both sides and say, "We got a kebab here. Take him downtown."
Depended on how lazy ESD was that evening.
Yeah. We got a sawzall or not? All I got's a handsaw.
Working,
Well,
sometimes
you're going to be
they
here
had
a
to
while.
bury people right with the thing. The thing.
It's ugly, but it's true.
Oh man, that
And
was
I don't know if a seatbelt would save you in a situation like that. Probably
uh,
not.
no, because
It would hold you nicely in place.
coming up through the. As a matter of fact, the seatbelt is probably your worst enemy in that situation because you can't. The force of a collision usually will move your body if you don't have a seatbelt. This
Oh,
way,
it sure
that way.
does.
So if you hit a guardrail, maybe the force of the collision moves you over this way as that piece comes up. Maybe you lose a leg, an eye, an arm, something like that, but you're still living to talk about it. With the seat belts, when they came in, they just kept you strapped right in. And so wherever that thing was going, if it was going in that 2-foot space that was your body, the width of your body, you couldn't get anywhere.
Nope. The paramedics would know exactly where to find you.
In the trunk. I saw my share working that, and that's where they put the rookies.
Ooh.
When you first show up for work, they give you a tow truck and some lights, a flashlight, and say, "Go patrol the Interborough.
It won't be long.
Won't be long till you're back here." And they did, to their credit, to Jamaica Towing's credit, which is the company that I worked for when I did that. They did give you a truck with big bumpers on both ends.
That was nice.
So at least you had somewhat of a chance. I mean, if you were smart, you didn't tow anything. You didn't hook anything up on the interborough. You got behind it and you pushed it to the next
Pu-
exit, no matter
Yeah.
what condition it was. If there was a body in it, if they didn't close the parkway, because we used to call Highway 3 was and we'd call the cops and we'd say, "Can you block off the parkway so we can tow a car?" And they'd say, "Yeah, see you in about 2 hours."
Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
now you got the car sitting there. Cars are whizzing by, coming around curves. If it's a Friday night, purely 50% of the people that are going by you are weaving and they're drunk.
You know what, Denny? You just brought up something that I can't believe. I don't drive at night very often just because I don't have the need to. But Commodore and Tutu were babysitting Saturday night, and we're on the way home at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night in LA. And the drivers that I encountered were absolutely mental. They were doing stupid, impossible, ridiculous things on the freeway and getting away with it to the point where we didn't see any accidents, but we saw 20 that could have happened and drivers that had no business being behind the wheel. What I didn't see was CHP because he's probably following me, but the end result was I hadn't seen that tanked up LA crowd in a long time, and I want you to know they're still there. They drive like hell, and they managed. So, from what I can see, they all managed to get home safely, but not for want of trying to mess up the whole thing. They were trying to mess up the whole Saturday night.
We have it here too. Dick's, the hamburger joint, is around the corner. And on a Friday or a Saturday night, you go by there and there's, 300 cars sitting in the parking lot, all revved up, revving their engines. Then they go out on Highway 99, which at this point where I am is pretty straight. It's a 8-lane street at that point, 6 or 8, I forget. I think it's 8 lanes at that point. You got three and then a bus lane on each side.
Wow.
And so from 11 o'clock at night till probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, all you hear is engines revving and burnouts, and it's a regular drag strip up there.
Drag strip, I can understand, but when you add weaving and lack of motor control and the combination of whatever drug you're taking and liquor telling you that you're the best driver,
Yeah.
not just the most accurate, but really the best driver in round. They're not staying in their lane. They're making crazy lane changes to advance one car. It's all the typical stupid moves that come with booze and automobiles.
And Mikey, it's hard for me to look at that and say, "Oh my God, they shouldn't be doing that," because I did it when I was a kid. I
Oh
did
yeah.
something stupid. Now I didn't. I will take out the drunk out of it or the drugs because although I will never say that I never, but at least then everybody was high, so you had a chance. But it was it was crazy. And you go up there, and 90% of the kids are having fun, and you know, but there's the 10% that are out there racing for money, or they're out there trying to do stupid stuff, or they're high, or whatever it is, and 10% in that case will get you killed.
Yeah.
You don't need to participate to get killed. All you got to do is be standing there.
Just the cars around me. Of course, I was on the freeway for 45 minutes from Woodland Hills all the way to Pasadena. So I was on 3 freeways Saturday night, 11 o'clock. And what I found is people could not stay in their lane. They were just here it comes, and that's what drives you crazy because you don't know how far they're coming, and they're all around you. It was really quite amazing.
Well, that's why I am such an advocate of these Super Cruise. I guess this General
Yeah,
Motors version of it, but these things that keep you in your lane,
great idea.
that stop your car, that they don't have one that speeds your car up, unfortunately, but they will eventually. They'll have it, and I just think that these devices are, in fact, going to save lives in situations like that because they're going to keep people in their lanes,
Yep.
at least to some degree. Maybe not that, maybe that's not going to work in every case, but I think that, um, people still drive like idiots.
There's a real lack of skill, and I blame that on drivers' education in high school being dropped for the most part.
Well, yeah, that, and also the fact that we make it so easy to get a license. I mean, it's pretty freaking easy to go down and get a driver's license,
Everybody seems to be able to pass
no
sooner
matter
or
what
later.
language you speak. I'm not one of these people that believe you should exclude people because of language, but you certainly should have a basic knowledge of stop, go, pull, the things that you need to know to operate a vehicle in traffic. You should be able to do that. Um,
And also, it helps to have a state of mind. People who do stupid things in traffic are trying to get someplace that you can't get in traffic because there's traffic.
right.
So the fact that you can't see that and just go, here we go. We're gonna get there. It's not even gonna take 5 minutes more. Just shut up and sit in your lane and find a tune that you like. But don't this business of God damn it, gotta get around this thing. That's the faster way. No, that way. That's it's a recipe for a heart attack and then disaster.
And you see it now more often than ever. It used to be you'd see, excuse me, on the freeway. You'd be in the left lane of the freeway and you're doing, 10 over the limit, let's say. It's 65, you're doing 75 in the left lane. And all of a sudden, some clown is either on your butt,
Yes.
right on your bumper, that if you make a wrong move, he's going to, plow you into tomorrow. Or he's in the carpool, the left lane, the carpool lane, and he goes by you like you're standing still and you're doing 70 or 80.
I see it. I see it every day.
And
Once a
this
week, I
guy's
drive to
doing
Woodland Hills.
110 in
I
the
see it
middle
every
of the
day
day.
in the middle of the day. Yes,
In the
yes.
middle of the freaking day. Um, and he's blowing by you like, and you're just going, are you kidding me?
And that type of driving causes two accidents. One, the idiot driving is putting himself in a position where there's no way he can control his car if he needs to make an adjustment. No way. He's accelerating too much. And the person that he's behind that's going 75 has got somebody on their tailpipe. They make a move that they shouldn't make to so that this guy gets happy. You want to be, I'm miserable, but I have to change lanes now to make this idiot happy.
Right.
And you change lanes just as he's starting to change lanes because he can't wait.
And the other thing that happens too is that, okay, so now you're doing your 100 miles an hour in the left lane. You lose control of your vehicle, right? You don't just kill yourself,
Oh
but
no.
what invariably happens now is you hit something and some heavy part of your
Mhm.
car,
Yep.
the battery, a wheel, a fender, a front end, hops the divider and goes into the opposing lane of traffic. And now you got a 100-pound piece of metal, just spinning through looking for somebody's head to cut off.
And I don't do physics, but I know when you multiply a bumper going at 80 miles an hour airborne into a Tesla going 90 miles an hour in the fast lane on the opposite side, you've got a terrible, terrible collision.
You got something that'll take the top of a car off pretty quickly, and any heads that happen to be in it. And there's nothing you can do for that. I mean, you
No,
can put airbags in a car, but the piece never hits the bumper.
no.
Whatever's flying through the air is it going to set off the airbags
I
or
met
is
the
it going to
person. I
set
met the.
off?
Speaking of
Uh,
Teslas, I met the person with the ugliest Tesla in L.A. They did a custom paint job of pink champagne, and it was iridescent in its ugliness. It was really quite something to see. champagne, pink, and it sort of mutates in the sunlight, so you get a little bit of a sparkle. Just awful.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of respect for many people that drive Teslas. I think it's
I know you know them better than I. There are so many in LA that you can't really you can hardly
yeah,
factor
it
in how
seems
many
to
there
be a
are.
cult, or at least at the very least a really bad group of people. You know that believe that because they drive a Tesla, they have inalienable rights that make them better than many other people. I'm sure
They
there's
have,
other people that drive them. I'm not going to say everybody that drives one, but by and large, Tesla has replaced Porsche
yeah.
as the most disrespected driver on the road. It used to be Porsche drivers were like, oh my god. Um, Look at me, I'm driving a Porsche. Uh, but Tesla has really, uh, and it's just turned into such a culty type of thing. Not only do they like the car, but they ascribe to whatever Elon Musk says. So
Yeah.
it's almost like a church.
It sounds very much like the world of Donald Trump, where it doesn't matter what he says, I already believe it.
Yeah.
Have you heard what he
Oh,
said? No, but I believe it. But you haven't heard it yet. It doesn't matter. I
doesn't
believe it.
matter. I mean, Musk took how many millions of dollars off of these clowns that signed up for the Cybertruck? The new little Tesla pickup truck, and they're nowhere near bringing it to market.
What do they want to do with it that makes it impossible to design?
Uh, well, first of all, it's a completely insane looking truck. Looks like something out of Star Wars.
Okay.
Uh, so I don't know what the safety stuff is going to be around it. If they're going to be able, is it going to be able to not be damaged in a 5 mile an hour crash? Is it going to be able to withstand a 5 mile an hour crash? What's the dynamics of it? Will it go more than 5 blocks on a charge? There's so many different things, but you go on these Tesla fanboy forums, and you think it was John Lennon that designed the car, and if you buy it, there'll be world peace.
They've already got a club and they don't have the truck yet.
Yeah, it's amazing how much people around these cars want to be wanted, and when one of the things that I did
Want to be wanted.
notice
Uh-huh.
in this 3 week immersion that I did of electric vehicles is the Tesla people have their own charging system. So you take your Tesla to the Tesla charger and you can charge it up there, but every once in a while there's no Tesla charger around. So
That's
they
a
have to
problem.
take it and charge it with the common people.
Oh no.
And it's everything you think. It's everything that's going on in your head right now about what that Tesla owner is like is happening. It's an elitist bunch of people who really don't even want to talk to you. That if you ask them about their car, for the most part, they want to keep it a secret.
I don't know. I don't know much about it. It just got it. It seems
I have to
okay.
push the button and it goes.
Seems okay.
Yeah. Um, I had one guy that went to a charging station where there was some Tesla chargers and some regular, and the guy pulled up. Now, you know me, I'm a friendly guy, Michael.
You like to talk.
I like to talk to people, and I started, hey, how you doing? The guy doesn't even turn around. I mean,
That's how he's
I was interested in asking him some questions about the car. So I
yeah,
said, oh no, maybe you didn't hear me. Hey, how you doing? Nothing.
nothing.
Not on the phone. Not on anything. He's just sitting there in his, this guy's probably about in his mid 50s or so, and his 22-year-old wife is sitting in the
She's shotgun.
in the shotgun, and I'm just like, all right, this fucking. This guy thinks who he is. Um, and it's not the only time that's happened. So
Wow.
I don't know. It's just this weird dynamic
It's
about.
funny. Maybe they're so uncertain of themselves in this world that the Tesla can't protect them, but they hope it puts up a line of first defense.
Michael, I think that's a very reasonable assumption. I think it's like the pickup truck. It's like you go out and you buy a pickup truck with a pair of bull balls on the back, so you can show somebody how big you are. And invariably these guys got little teeny weeny dicks, and
Yeah. This, my mud flaps are only an estimation of the actual size. They may
yeah,
appear smaller in person.
yeah, and I think Tesla is the liberal version of that.
I
I mean,
saw, I see a lot of cars in LA that you would love to see, but one that I hadn't seen before was a brand new Chevrolet Bolt, Bolt,
yes, I
and
drove one 2 weeks ago.
it was a really nice design. It was a sharp looking car, and I wish I saw more of them. I wish I saw as many of those as I do Teslas.
I think you will. Um, I just my friend, I think you remember my friend JD.
Yes,
Um, he, I just talked him into buying one. He's gonna purchase one,
you have
and
to order it.
it's much more an everyman's car, every
Yes.
woman's car. It's almost an electric car version of the Volkswagen,
Yes.
where it's a car that's priced well, easily accessible. It doesn't. It's not so technologically advanced that you're afraid of it. It has that Super Cruise feature I was telling you about.
Oh,
It is an EUV. They call it an electric utility vehicle. And when you get in this car, it's amazing how much room is in there because you don't have a transmission hump. You don't
yeah.
have all of the stuff that you traditionally get into a gasoline engine car. There's no catalytic converter. There's no, there's just, it's a flat platform. So you get in there and you can stretch your legs out. The people in the back seat have room in a small car. Uh, as much room in a Bolt as you probably would have in a 62, 63 Cadillac.
That's a lot of room.
I mean, you literally can, if and plus they designed it so that the right front seat folds down, and you can put, if you have a long piece of lumber or wood or a long curtain pole or something like that you
Or
curtain rod or something that you want to put in the car.
maybe an 8 by 8 piece of wood to help fix Highway 13.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It'll fit. You can put it in there. Um, and the other cars that they're coming out with, the Chevy is coming out with, are equally as well designed and pretty. I mean, they're pretty cars. The new Blazer that they're coming out with, the new Equinox that are electric cars,
Hmm.
are phenomenal looking cars. Now, I haven't seen them in person, but I've seen enough pictures of them and previews of them, and I can't wait to drive them. The other good thing about the Bolt is that it will get you, you can charge it up and it'll get you to, I think, 240 on the single motor model, or maybe it's 280 on the single motor and 240 on the dual.
Your backup.
Well, no, you have all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive.
Oh, I see. Very good.
If you have a two-wheel drive, you have one motor. All-wheel drive, you have two motors.
Now, how do you switch from between one to the other if you're on a long trip? Automatic?
Automatic. It's all
It's all electric and done.
The only things that you switch in the car is you put it in a different mode. You can put it in a sport mode, which it'll tighten up the suspension and
Hmm.
give you a tighter feeling to the car, more like a sports car. A comfort mode, which is your regular driving mode, and the eco mode, which will give you maximum efficiency in the engine and shut off anything that you don't need as far as air conditioner or other stuff that can run the battery down.
Excellent.
So it'll put you into you'll get 10, 20 more miles on your charging.
And are these Chevy products playing in Peoria? Are they selling across the
Well, you
nation?
can't buy them in Peoria,
It's
unfortunately, right
it's a
now.
damn shame.
As a matter of fact, there is a cottage industry that has grown, that has come up of people who are buying them on the West Coast or the East Coast where you can buy them and taking them to cities like Madison, Wisconsin
Yeah.
and
Austin,
South Bend,
Texas.
Indiana
Austin, Texas.
and Austin, Texas, and selling them for $5,000 to $10,000 over what they cost.
It's the market. It's what you call a market adjustment.
Yeah, because people, yeah, remember we had them last week,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. We had the market adjustment, and but these aren't dealers. These are brokers and people who have some cash that are looking to make some money. So it's not, as a matter of fact, General Motors right now. There's so much of it starting to go on that General Motors is saying wants to. I don't know if they're going to get away with this, but General Motors wants to say if you buy a Bolt or one of an electric Silverado or a Hummer or one of our electric cars, that you absolutely have to keep it for a year,
Oh, that's
or
pretty
your
tough.
warranty will be void.
Ah. Well, why don't they just send 150 cars to Chicago and deal them out of there themselves?
Would be a nice idea, wouldn't it? Be the smart thing to do.
And they could
But
sell them above sticker price too. They could make a profit on that. Special Chevy orders
but
delivered to your
right
house.
now they just don't have the capacity to build them. I mean, they could sell every Mustang that they can, electric Mustang, which is the Mach E, they can sell every one that they can print. Every Volkswagen ID4 they can sell every one that they can print.
Well, they got to do it, Vinny, because I just paid $6.20 for a gallon of gas as our gas prices are back up. And to help that out, our friends in Saudi Arabia, of course, are cutting us off with with their cartels. And to make it worse, all the refineries in California have shut down to clean their equipment to make the winter blend.
Right.
This is a company that makes $45 billion a quarter, and they have to shut down all their machinery and their refineries just to flick a switch. That's how far advanced they are. And that's how deeply into the gouge the oil companies have gotten, to the point where on Friday, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, was going to have a special meeting of the legislature to find out who's gouging, how much, and how they can stop it. And you know what? I haven't heard a peep about the results of that meeting. Not a peep.
Well, what you have here, Michael, is you this is the electric car over the next 2 years, 3 years will be the new COVID vaccination.
Yeah. Yes.
You will be judged on whether you drive an electric car. You're a liberal and you're this and you're that, or if you drive a gas guzzling pickup truck, you'll be a conservative. And
Especially a new pickup truck. I'm going to get
right,
myself a brand new pickup truck that runs on gas.
if you look on social media, you see it developing already. I have a guy I know is a true, what I call Trump Republican, is he lies about everything. It
But
doesn't
he's
matter if it's true or not.
no. It's not important.
It's just that if he can twist the story or make a story um, sound like his point of view is right, he'll do it. And this is a guy who has been doing car reviews for many, many, many years.
Wow.
And
Well, he's stuck in a hard place.
he will tell you if you talk to him and if you look at what he posts on social media, he will, he's consistently posting, um, stuff from conservative journal where they say cars underwater catch fire in Florida. Well, no, cars underwater don't catch fire. Cars underwater can't catch fire.
No, they don't.
It can electrocute you, but don't never let the facts get in the way of a good story.
It's a great story.
Um,
Boat and boats out of water catch fire. That's
right.
it's
Every time that there's, and I've seen this with a few people I know that are conservative journalists, where they just see the electric car as the complete takeover of America by the liberals. And they are going to do whatever they can do to make the average person believe that the electric car is the worst thing in the world for America.
Has this happened to food? Are we going to be divided by what sort of cheeseburger we eat before
Yeah, it
long?
will be. Yeah, it will, Mikey. I mean, it has already. I mean, what happens if you walk into a Republican club with a Impossible Burger?
Oh, I got some in my refrigerator right now. I got Impossible Burgers. We got White Castle in the freezer, but downstairs, just refrigerating, waiting for the night for me to make patty melts. Impossible Burgers. Yeah, baby.
There you go. I mean, so it has hit food. As a matter of fact, food's probably one of the oldest delineators of politics. Because if are you what are you, a tree hugger? You eat that quinoa stuff?
Or a vegetarian.
Or a vegetarian? Or, or what's the matter? You don't eat fish? You only eat plant stuff? What do you eat? Salad all day? So that's probably one of your older political delineators. But that's what we're getting to in this country, where we look at everything through the lens of politics. What you eat, what you wear, what you go, what movies you see, what television you watch, is all kept somewhere and readily available for the researchers who want to find out. I would hazard a guess that if you are John Fetterman in Pennsylvania right now and you want to reach out to voters, that you are looking at who buys Impossible Burgers in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And they can tell because they know what you buy. I mean, that little receipt that you get is just nothing compared to what information is being stored. And a political campaign can go and buy that information and say, okay, I want to send out a letter to the last 500,000 people that bought quinoa at Trader Joe's. Now, I don't know if Trader Joe's sells their information or not, but
I don't think so.
probably not. But damn sure the Kroger does, or Safeway, or Vons, or those supermarkets, so they can pick you out. You ever wonder why you get that mailer? So what the heck did I get this mailer for? That's because you bought brown rice, quinoa, and a tofu frozen entree.
And you better go back and get more soy sauce because you know how
Yeah,
I love that.
at the supermarket. There you go.
There you go. How far can you go in life without some soy sauce, some olive oil? I mean, you got to start with olive oil or you're not playing ball.
It's the staple of life. Jesus ate olive oil.
He may have invented it.
Yeah, he was sitting around. A couple olives were hanging out in a tree. He said, "What happens if I squeeze you, baby? Squeeze me and find out." Drip, 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 and
That
you had your
sounds
Pitco Olive Oil Company.
that sounds like the work of the devil right there.
Could be, could very well be.
Could have
But I mean,
been.
you think about it. It's so if you drive an electric car, I mean, so they've already got put us into categories
Yeah.
depending on what car you drive. What seems to be becoming popular now, which I think is going to be a problem, is the fact that you have these wonderful Hitler youth, these good old boys that drive these trucks that are harassing people with electric cars or pickups. I've spoken to more than one person who drives an electric car and has said that a pickup truck has either tried to run them off the road
Wow.
or given them the finger, uh, especially out in eastern Washington,
Yeah, I can understand that.
you know,
I
where,
understand.
I
I mean,
mean,
I don't like it, but I do understand it. I guess we should have predicted it. One of the crazy things about this state of mind is what sort of guy in a pickup truck sees another car on the highway as a threat to his state of mind, his political beliefs, his safety in public, his unity with his other friends to form a club. Once again, back to the Beach Boys. Let's form a car club. We'll get some dues. We'll get some guns. We'll build a fence. We'll park our cars in the stockade. No one will be able to get to us. We've got a great plan. And when we encounter an electric car on the freeway, we'll just run them into the ditch because the law protects us.
yep.
That's who we are. We
All we
we
got to
are
say
we are.
is we felt threatened. Although I would love to see you prove that you felt threatened by an electric car if you're driving a big ass uh, Silverado. But that's where we're at in this country.
And that's
That
where we're headed. We're headed for more of that than we
and yeah, we're
are
headed for
singing
more of
"Kumbaya."
that. We're headed for if you now I mean the manufacturers are trying to do something about it by saying um, by building electric pickup trucks and they are going to be popular. But look who's buying them.
Yeah.
It's not Farmer Bill right now that's buying it. It will be when Farmer Bill figures out that he can that this truck actually is going to work and
Works
that he
be-
can
works better
save,
as a truck. Yeah, it's a better
yeah,
truck.
that he can hook up a charger in his house and probably save a couple of grand a year in fuel costs, especially diesel fuel, which is more than gasoline. So, but until that catches on, until you can go into a showroom in I don't know Olathe, Kansas, and buy a pickup truck, an electric pickup truck, and without your friends at the Moose Lodge laughing at you, or the Odd Fellows.
You know what? I think they just have to be behind the wheel if they have the balls to sit there and just experience what the future looks like. And guys who drive trucks have one thing in common: they love trucks, right? It's not an accident.
Yeah,
And what Ford and Chevy and GMC and Dodge are what showing you is that you're going to get a better truck for a better future, and it's a better deal than you're getting right now with a gas guzzler.
well, the truck business is in a state of flux right now, in that trucks have gotten so big and so expensive that we're almost going to turn around and go back to basics. Both, obviously, you see the Ford Maverick, which is a smaller pickup truck that has been what they're sold out. They can't build enough of them. Um, Ford and Chevy are both coming out with a new version of the El Camino and the Ranchero,
Hey, now you're talking.
where it's a pickup. They have them in Australia. They call them Utes for utilities.
Yeah.
And these are, for those who may not know, they are car-based pickup trucks. So you have two seats in the, a seat in the front, and in the old versions, it wasn't a four-door; it was a two-door. Had
Yes.
one seat, seated three people, and the back was a smaller pickup bed. So it was a lighter duty pickup truck.
And
Um,
a lot of people who bought them and raked them and painted them and stripped them and put
yeah,
on a
I
big
remember the
show.
one I had. Matter of fact, I've had a few of them. I had a beautiful one, an orange one that I loved.
Yeah.
I should have never sold that car.
And you don't carry a load. You got your bed and your pickup part is pristine. It is beautifully. It's
Right, but yeah, usually has a tonneau cover over it, but you
yeah.
can carry a load.
Oh, yes.
You need to go to home. I mean, again, you're not going to carry, um, 5,000 pounds of quickcrete in the back, but if you need to go to Home Depot and you need to, pick up a bunch of garden supplies, or you need to pick up, or you got to, go with your kid to get a dresser that they bought at a garage sale, or there's a million uses for it, and it drives like a car, and it's inexpensive. The Ford Maverick, which is not the Ute, but it is a small pickup truck, is list for $20,000.
Wow.
Now you're going to pay more if you want one right now because they're loading them up with options again, because people are hot for them. They're going for 10,000 over sticker. But when that initial I gotta have one wears off, you will be able to go out and buy yourself a Maverick for the sticker price at least.
That's going to be a shock to the
Bucks.
system.
And for a second car, for a car that you can drive around the city, if you have a band, if you have all these different applications that you can use this truck for. You can get a camper cab for it, take it up in the woods and sleep in it.
I want to put a Hammond B3 and a Leslie speaker in the back of my El Camino. I don't know where I'm going, but when we get there, at least we'll have an organ.
Remember the guy that used to have the piano
Yeah.
in the back of the Falcon Ranchero? He used
Yes.
to sit down by the wharf, and he'd sit there and play. I remember the first time I came to San Francisco, he was out in front of Ghirardelli Square.
Get a
He
good,
was
good
in the
spot
back of
down.
that pickup truck, and he was playing stuff, and he had a tux on, and I was like, "This guy's got it going on, man."
Go anywhere, play anywhere, get a good parking spot, and you make enough for dinner.
Make your money every day. Um, but that's what we're seeing, because these pickup trucks that you're seeing a fully loaded Silverado pickup truck is 90,000 dollars.
Yeah.
What farmer's going to go out and buy that? They still need the truck, so they got to do something. So you're going to see a lot smaller trucks, because the size of the trucks it's out of hand.
They're oversized. You don't need that much truck.
You can't see, if there's a little kid walking in front of you in a crosswalk, you can't see the kid. That's not right. That's not safe,
You need warning screens for what's in front of you, not what's behind you.
right? Which trucks are now installing. They're putting them in
Yes.
now because they've had a number of situations, and they have to remedy that. There's no way they can keep going. So you're going to see in the next 3 or 4 years smaller trucks that are tailored more towards city people, towards small businesses, and most of these trucks are going to be electric.
Yeah, of course. Well,
Most.
Vinny, I salute you for your knowledge on the trucking industry as it exists in America. And I am here to say that I thought this was going to be a morose Monday show because of what happened to your Mets. It turned out not to be a Mets Monday. The Jets won, and we didn't even get into the darker aspects of Tesla life or Donald Trump or any of the idiots that are working for the city council of Los Angeles, or any
Yeah.
of the bigger stores, or Vladimir Putin, or the burning bridge of Crimea, because it all started off with Highway 13 and ended up with electric trucks, and there you go. It's another Mikey and Vinnie.
It's yeah, and you know what? We'll have time on Wednesday. Uh, uh, you know, I mean, the greatest thing that happened this weekend was that the Mariners
Yep,
pulled off a historic come from behind win.
big time.
For all of you that we have told for years and years and years, don't leave early. It ain't over till it's over. You know, all of the stuff that we tell people time and time and time and time again came
It,
to fruition
it came true.
on Saturday.
And anytime you got a guy who's doing rallies in this time of year, watch him through the playoffs. There's a guy named Cal Raleigh, plays for the Mariners.
Yep.
Every time he turns around, he's got 3 RBIs. How does this guy do it? He's involved with all the scoring all the time. Keep your eye on a guy like that who gets hot when it's time for the playoffs, because he'll be a factor in a storyline through the whole thing.
There's one every year
Yep.
somewhere in baseball. There's
Yep.
a guy that shows up and performs way beyond what you would expect of him.
Yep.
And you've never heard of him, and you may never hear of him again after this
Because he'll be gone.
because he'll be gone. But you watch. There's somebody, and I think, you know, Cal Raleigh would be my reasonable pick to click. That's a guy who will never, ever, ever, on the basis of 2 games that he's played for the Mariners, the one that got him into the playoffs and the one that got him further into playoffs, which he had a hand in
Yep.
both. On that basis, he shall never have to buy a drink again anytime he's in the city of Seattle.
And I'll take him by Sean Kemp's marijuana store if he wants to get a little buzz on before the game.
He doesn't hit me as that kind of guy, but I'm not there. You know,
He doesn't have to buy anything. He can get a T-shirt. Come on, we're going to Sean's place.
he can get a tip. But that guy is turned himself into a hero. Um,
Yes.
I use the word hero again in the context of somebody who responds to a tough situation, not a life-threatening situation. Uh, there are heroes, of course, of different kinds, and we don't mean to confuse that kind of hero with somebody who runs into a burning building or so on and so forth. But yet, there is a certain thing about meeting the moment
Yeah.
that he has right now captured in a bottle.
And he'll I bet you anything he'll stay hot through these playoffs and help take the team further along. They've got a great chance to go.
Yeah, I believe they do, Michael. I believe that that this team, they don't have everything,
No.
but they got enough for some stuff. Just they got enough.
That's a good way to describe Washington State, who had a tough time with USC playing in LA in the hot weather. It
Yeah.
was tough. But 2 things happened that struck me as making a difference in the game. Washington State suffered 5 sacks for 27 yards. Five is a lot. Five is a lot of sacks. And they had 11 penalties for 106 yards. So that means they made mistakes in blocking that allowed their man to get sacked. They made mistakes on offense and defense that gave them penalties throughout the game. And they just added $100 yards of offense to USC, which you cannot do.
Right.
You can't give them 100 yards of offense and penalties.
It's one of the things that that they really have to work on. It's been a problem with the Cougars for how long? For ever since we've been following them. Is that they get themselves into stupid penalties,
Yeah.
and it winds up. I mean, in that game against what was it, Oregon, where they Oregon scored the 3 touchdowns in 4 minutes.
Yeah, they
It
sure
was
did.
penalties that killed them.
Yeah, penalties and bad defense.
Yeah, but even more than the bad defense, you can't give a team like that. You can't give any team, but you certainly can't give a good team 100 yards a game.
No. How would you like to be in the red zone? We'll get you there. It's up to you to score, though.
Yeah, and I don't know how you. I mean, I don't know how you fix that. That's something that Jake Dickert is going to have to figure out.
Winning fixes that. You win a game, it gives you confidence, and you start playing in your head instead of on the edge.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, but there's something else that goes on, and you know, I want to one of these shows. I want to get Jack Thompson on, and I want to talk to him a little bit about this.
Yeah.
We should get him on some Friday, maybe if we can.
I would love to. And we'll ask him what's going to happen here in LA. It's been a long time since anybody had anything to say about college football except USC. And now Chip Kelly's in his fourth year. His team is undefeated. They are playing actually in terms of scoring and production better than USC. Yet UCLA is number 11 on the new poll and USC is number 7. And that's just the way it is. If you want to lose, you can't be in the top 10. Washington State, by the way, got 10 votes to be on the top 25. But when you lose, how are you going to enter the top 25? It can't be done.
It's really it's tough, and they almost got in even with that loss to Oregon.
Yep.
Because people saw that they blew it at the end, but that they were blowing Oregon out. And but now things tighten up.
Things are really tight. In fact, look at the list of undefeated teams in the top 20 right now, and there's a lot of them. And there are, although Alabama lost 3 points this week, went from number 1 to number 3, and that's a major change. Georgia's number 1.
Never hurts me to hear that, man.
No, it doesn't hurt.
Anytime I hear Alabama going down in flames, I'm good with it.
It's the answer to a lot of questions about what's wrong with that guy is he's got too much Bama in him. What do you mean?
True.
He's from Alabama and he's got a little bit too much Bama in him. That's why he's acting that way.
If you can watch Alabama go down in flames, and you can watch Tommy Tuberville there, do his thing.
What do you think his players feel about him after going to war with that guy? After listening to the coach say, "I love you boys. I love you guys. You're my team. We'll go anywhere together."
If I was a former player of his, I would spit in his face.
He deserves nothing less.
I would walk up to him at a public event, and I would get the biggest loogie I could get in my mouth, and I would just unload it right in his face. And then I'd get the next guy on the team to come up and do it. And get them all to come up. Because that guy is nothing but a racist piece of crap.
And he's not afraid to tell you all about it.
Right.
He's not afraid to tell a national audience what he really feels.
Right. And if that's the idea of what their America looks like,
well, that's what it looks like.
Then Mikey, then there's going to be a decision to make.
I think people are making it already.
But there's going to be a decision to make in this country. Is that what you want?
Is that a senator?
Is that an elected official? Is that something that you think represents the people?
Is suitable for dinner time viewing on television?
Do you think that and if it is, then maybe you don't belong in this country.
It all goes back, as I've said many times, to 1861, the American Civil War that had split this country. It was already split, that made it official. You hate us, we hate you. We're coming, and we're coming to kill you. The night they drove Old Dixie down was not a myth.
Right.
The South did get defeated, and terrible things happened to the people who decided they were better than the rest of us and were going to print their own money and have their own uniforms and treat people the way they wanted. They were going to have slaves, and there was no one going to tell them any other way, and they were going to do it. And even if they had never owned a slave themselves, they were going to fight to the death so that the rich guy in Savannah could have slaves, because that's the way the world was going to be. And it hasn't changed since then. And they've added on a lot of extras since then. And the white supremacists have come up with a couple new inventive ideas, but mostly it's the same load of crap.
Yeah.
And it keeps them in a hateful position. It keeps them in a defensive position. It keeps them thinking that the rest of the country is better than they are, that we've left them behind, that we intend to leave them further behind. And all of that is true. And they can join in the fun. They can get an education and try to play ball in the new American way, or they can just turn into hateful
Well,
Confederates.
that's the way that I mean, what's the easiest way to control people, Michael? Make them afraid of something.
And Danny Tuberville made it so plain, saying they want what you have.
Right.
They are coming for your stuff. They think that because you have it, they want some too, and they're going to take yours. And I don't know if he's talking about cookies or cheeseburgers
Yeah,
or,
he knew what he was
or
talking. People knew what he was talking about.
yeah, they did. They
They
want
knew what he
everything.
was
They
talking
want your
about. He knew
daughter.
what
They
he was
want your
talking about.
house.
The crowd of people there knew what he was talking about. Trump knew what he was talking about. Boy, I hope I live to see these people sent to the Phantom Zone or something, man. I hope I live to see him just eradicated from the face of the earth.
Now, who is in the Phantom Zone, if I may ask? Who would they meet there?
Criminals from Krypton.
Ooh,
So
professionals.
you would meet Lex Luthor, even though Lex Luthor is not from Krypton. You would meet him there.
Because he was a free agent.
Right, he was a free agent, but Superman has placed some other criminals into the Phantom Zone. Um, I'm trying to think of who else is in there, but there's a long list of people who are in there and
Is Roy
can't be let
Cohn?
out because if they get let out, for the most part, the ones that are from here, from Krypton, take the same powers on that Superman does,
Yeah, we can't have that.
and that ain't pretty.
That's not what we want.
And then at the end of the day, you always have Mr. Mazinapic.
No, no, let's not bring him into this. He always wins.
And I'm sure you're familiar with Mr. Mazinapic.
You can't even pronounce it, although you did a pretty good job. Is he from Slovakia?
He is from a small island off of Slovakia that has been disputed with Destitutia for many, many, many years. So
That's a
it's
bad
not
combination.
Slovakia, it's not Destitutia, it's just right there on the line of both countries in the water. And one thing you may not know about Slovakia and Destitutia is that they have no national swimming programs. So nobody can swim out to the islands
So it's
or
like
take a boat out there to see what's going on.
it's like drivers training for the swim team. They don't have that. Some people can swim, some people can't, and we always find out who they are pretty quick in the game.
Yeah. So you have this country, this island, this small island that sits right on the line, the delineating line between Slovakia and Destitutia. And
I don't like the sound of that.
and that's where Mazinapic is from.
So he doesn't have a lot of brothers and sisters, I hope.
I nobody knows. I mean, he just when Superman says his name, he appears, and then Superman has to get him to say his name backwards so that he can go back to that island that nobody really knows what goes on there between Slovakia and Destitutia.
This reminds me of Rumpelstiltskin, doesn't it? Didn't you have to get him to say his name, or he wouldn't stop coming to take all the gold that he was spinning from straw?
Well, yeah, but no, wasn't what was the chick had to put her hair down, right?
She had to put her hair down to let him up, and then he would climb up and spin gold all night out of hay,
Out of her hair, I think it was.
out of straw. No, he used straw.
Oh, was it straw? Okay, I
Yeah.
mean, I was absent a few days in fairy tale school.
Well, depending on where you're from, if the Grimm brothers got a hold of it, there was a lot more blood. Okay, that's all you got to know. A lot more people died.
They didn't call them the Brothers Grimm for nothing.
They had a good reason to be called Grimm, and they were grim. Grim. You invite them to a party, it didn't take long. People were crying. They were throwing the punch out the window. That's the Grimm brothers. What a mess. What a couple guys.
Oh yeah, those were some dudes. I mean, how many Grimm brothers were there?
Well, originally 8, but we only got down. We ended up with 2 because we lost 6 of them in the conflict of 1842.
It was such a mess.
They had this big building in Vienna, and they had burned that to the ground. The people had enough of the Grimm brothers. I think they moved to Slovakia shortly after that.
Well, I will call. I will see if I can get a contact with the Minister of Destitution and see if they might be able to tell us what's going on with Mazitapic.
And how do you spell Mazinapic?
MXYTAOPTK.
Do you have a first name? Because I remember a guy I went to high school named Larry Mazinapic.
No, 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 no. It's just Mr. Mazitapic.
Mr. Mazinapic. Very good.
Mr. Mazitapic, and he doesn't appear on the television show, but he has appeared in Superman comics.
And his name is always in black letters, extra heavy black letters.
I believe so. I used to know somebody
Who knew somebody?
used to be able to say his name both backwards
Oh no,
and forwards.
nothing good can come from that. That doesn't sound right.
Let's see. There is a. Let me see if I could punch this up real quick. There is a picture here of Mazitapic that I just uncovered.
Did he always wear a bow tie?
No, I don't think he always did. I know at times he did. Can you see him?
Oh, there he is. Yes.
There is. This is a more modern version of Mazitapic.
He sort of looks like the Riddler in modern day
Yeah,
Superman.
he's a cross between the Riddler and the Notre Dame leprechaun.
Yeah.
Now,
And you should pray for the Notre Dame leprechaun because some stupid kid went to the wrong university, looked that way, and got cornered into being the leprechaun. A terrible, terrible, terrible thing to happen to a student.
oh, that's a shame. I don't know how. So he's always presented as a trickster deity in the mythological sense. Um, he loves tormenting Superman or making life difficult for him. He was created to appear in the October 1944 story, The Mysterious Mr. Mazitapic. Um, never appeared in never appeared in any of the Adventures of Superman or in the other Superman with Kirk Allen. But
They should have had Wally Cox play Mr. Mazinapic in the black and white shows.
well, they came close. They had Thomas Lennon played him, and in the New Adventures of Superman, Lois and Clark, he was played by Howie Mandel.
Okay, that works for me.
And in the fifth and sixth season of Supergirl, Gilbert Gottfried voiced the character.
That's great.
So I could see, because he did have that Wally Cox type of cachet about him.
Yeah, he was a funny little wise guy.
Wally wasn't a, Wally didn't seem to be a bad guy. He wouldn't.
No, he didn't seem to be a villain.
Right. And it's interesting that he that and I'm just kind of reading this off of the Wikipedia, but it's interesting, Michael, that he didn't appear in the in the original Adventures of Superman because he was the first time he was in print he was written by Whitney Ellsworth, who was one of the producers of the Superman TV series. So I'm sure I could research this. I'm sure somebody's written a paper somewhere about this.
Thank you, Mr. Mazinapic, and thank you, Vinnie, for another trip into Superman's world where things get solved toot sweet. We don't wait around all day. Superman gets these things done.
If you want to know something about Superman the TV series, I'm always here to help you.
Shall we meet on Wednesday?
Yes, let's, Michael. I think we have many things that we tried to discuss today that we got off track because of some reason. Probably me, because I do that to us.
I thought it was a pretty linear show, starting with Highway 13, the Pasadena Freeway, the electric car revolution, the American Civil War, and people who threaten those who drive electric cars on the highways and byways of America because somehow it suits their political fears.
Yeah, it is a shame that is many people's MO these days. It's a shame that anybody should be threatened by the kind of car they drive.
Oh, and to the Miami Dolphins, I would like to say there's a guy named Colin Kaepernick that you should call because you're going through quarterbacks at a rather alarming rate.
They're running out of quarterbacks, ain't they?
They got the third quarterback is not really an option to start a game. And I would like to thank the National Football League for having a concussion protocol on top of their concussion protocol. So now when you get a concussion, there's two protocols that can be violated by the team doctor, and you can be back in the game in, say, 5 minutes. Shake it off, rinse your hands with a little cool water, have some Gatorade, put on your promo cap, and you'll be back in the game, even though you don't know your own name.
Names are highly overrated. I mean,
it's on the back of your jersey. How can you see it?
On the back of the jersey.
Yeah.
So that you know who it is. What do you have to know your name for?
Hello, Colin Kaepernick. Yes, is this the Miami Dolphins? How did you know?
We just figured that you would run out of other quarterbacks. I mean, really, who is there left at the level of the NFL that could play
Super Bowl level?
I wouldn't even. Right now, you just need somebody that could get somebody could hand the ball to somebody. Forget the Super Bowl. Just give me somebody who can take the snap.
And
or
you can
save some money and just snap it right to the running back.
You can have a team meeting with the Miami Dolphins right now with the offensive line and say, has anybody here seen the quarterback? And they'll say, no, as a matter of fact, we haven't seen him. And why do you think that is, offensive line? I don't know. Is he late to the meeting? No, they're all in the hospital. And why would you say that would be, offensive line? I don't know. Did they get the COVID? No. Think why we don't have a quarterback. Think now.
Sunburned? No.
Who's on Monday night? Who's on the Monday Night Football team tonight? Monday Night Football game.
Boy, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Two
football teams. Two extraordinary football teams, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to love it.
No, I can't believe that we're going to love it, but it's Mr.
That didn't even come up in my studies this morning, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I saw so much sports over the weekend that I didn't think of it myself.
Well, there was so much of it, and a lot of college sports too. Monday night. I don't know.
Let's see. Who do we got tonight? Monday Night Football. Raiders versus the Chiefs.
Ooh, there's an old rivalry. The Raiders are going to get their ass kicked, and I hate saying that, but until you get yourself a quarterback that does not spell his name C-A-R-R, you're going to have these problems over and over again. And I can't help but also think that, Vinny, you've seen the curse of the Oakland Raiders hover over this team now for how many seasons, where they just can't get out of their own way, regardless of what talent, whatever new draft prospects they have.
Anytime they do something positive, I mean, this truly is a team that goes one step up and two steps back.
Every day.
It seems like it's and nothing can cure them. You know, they've done more geographicals than anybody I've ever known in AA. And I mean, you know, what's the first thing they tell you? Geographical isn't going to help you.
No, afraid not.
Al Davis says, "Oh yeah, watch me," and he moves his team, and now his family moves the team all over the place. How long do you think they're going to last in Vegas?
They got to get rid of that ugly torch in the end zone. I mean, it's just ill-conceived. It's not dramatic. It's not beautifully done. It doesn't remind you of anything majestic or victory-minded in terms of. It's just a. It's ugly.
It looks like they're burning the body of Bugsy Siegel out there. I mean,
Something weird is going on. But instead of a hole in the desert, you just bring it to the torch.
how far is the torch from the end of the runway at McCarran? Maybe that's what they're doing.
They can just slow down and dump stuff.
Yeah, they could have a jet. Oh, that would be kind of interesting, huh? Have a jet slow down as it was going over, dump some fuel right onto the torch.
Well, that was dramatic. A dramatic end to the game, says Al Michaels. But Al, we're still in the pregame party. We haven't even had a kickoff yet. I know, but that end of the stadium is still on fire. I don't think we're playing tonight.
I don't know. That's that new NFL in-stadium barbecue they've been talking about.
Yeah, it's like the quarterback. What's the word I'm looking for? Concussion protocol. Concussion protocol. That's what's all the more important. We have so many, they're layered deeply. If the first protocol doesn't save your head, the second protocol will take you to the hospital, and it's automatic.
Now we've added a third-degree burn protocol.
For playing on the turf in Carolina, the 49ers had 4 major injuries, all because of the turf. They won, but it didn't do them any good. And another good reason to fire the coach of Carolina, because no one knew who he was. And no one could figure out what he was doing. And sometimes they wouldn't let him into the stadium because no one recognized him. Well, now he's gone.
Who is coaching that Carolina? Is that still
Rule? R-H-U-L-E. Rule was his name.
Rule, the old pitcher? No, probably not.
They would have been better off with Vern Rule, but they don't have him now. And now the defensive organizer for the offensive line, special teams organizer. Anyway, they got an interim coach, and it's not going to make any difference because there's another team without 2 quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, he's wearing a boot. Sam Darnold is going to be out for half the season. The third guy, no one knows. They won't even let him into the practice facility. No one recognizes him. What are you, a punter? I'm the quarterback. Well, where? Here.
That's when you know you're in trouble, man. When you pull up to the gate, they won't let you in. You're the quarterback.
But you guys got to let me in. I'm the quarterback and everything.
I'm sorry. You have an ID card? Nobody show. Where's your employee ID?
It's coming next week. They said the laminator was broken, so I don't have anything to show you.
It's my draft paper. When they drafted me.
See you Wednesday at 10 past 10, Vinny. Wednesday at 10 past 10.
See you Wednesday at 10 past 10. If the Lord's willing, the creek don't rise. Have a good Tuesday, Mikey, and peace, love, and Mazinapic.
Oh, what a wine.
What a little guy.
What a little fellow.
See you later.